Welcome back to the dojo, everybody. This is TruTalk with TruMotion, where a couple of guys talk about how to make the world a better place and hopefully make your day a little bit better in the process. My name is Mark, followed by my co-host Stephen. Let's get things kicked off. Well, Stephen, let's do our little recap. How's your week been, man?
Oh, my week was kind of wild, actually. I had a lot of ups and downs, and I finished on a good note, thankfully. Definitely feeling all those intense workouts I did this week. So it's a growth week.
Growth week.
Yep.
Yeah, we love those growth weeks here. Yeah, it's been a good week, I would dare say. Excuse me. It's classes have been really steady. Classes have been good. We kind of finished the month off, just kind of like we normally would like to, nice and strong. We've got an advanced test coming up this weekend. We've got Tiger test coming up in a couple weekends after that. Then we're right into tournament mode. So it's interesting. It doesn't seem like we have a whole lot going on, but there's a whole lot going on at the same time. So it's a chance for students to kind of get involved in lots of different ways, testing, getting involved with the animal tests, and then, like always, kind of getting involved with the tournament. Tournament's such a huge part of your training experience that it's almost difficult to put into words. And a lot of people don't quite understand the importance of competing in tournaments. A lot of times it's like, oh, well, it's just a chance for, students to win trophies. No, that's the byproduct of competing in tournaments. I think the real reason why it's important to compete in tournaments is because you're naturally competing in life. So if you're used to competition at a young age, it just becomes a part of your life, and it's not that big a deal anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Tournaments are such a huge deal. We definitely want to make sure that we do our part to make sure that we convey how important it is for the students' training. Now, unfortunately, the South Jordan School has not been the best representative of tournaments lately, but we're going to change that around this year. So, but all right, we're going to get right into it. This week's top 5 is top 5 TV drama and action series. Okay, so this is not your comedy series, not your sci-fi series. This is like strictly drama / action, I guess. Again, it's a pretty broad topic, broad spectrum, but we do our best to narrow it down for you. So, Stephen, what do you got on your top 5?
Oh wow, okay. This was an interesting one because I do like action and dramas.
Yeah.
More of the action, as you'll probably figure out with what I picked. But in no particular order. Let's see what we got. So I've got Black Sails from Stars, a pirate drama action, really good. Then I have, Strike Back. I think another Stars or HBO Max one.
Cinemax, yeah.
Cinemax, okay. They all just scattered when I said let's call them up. So let me see if I could pull them out of hiding here. One that is pretty recent, Reacher. That's one that I've gone through twice. And let's see, that's 3, and so then I've got Spartacus. There we go. That's a great one. Seen that a few times. And then let's follow up with the classic MacGyver, the old school one with Richard Dean Anderson.
Gotcha.
That's a show I put on in the background when I can find it available.
Yeah, that's a good list. I forgot about Reacher. That's a good series also. Probably because it's so new.
Yeah,
it's only got 2 seasons with it, but. My criteria is, have I watched these series more than once?
Okay.
If I've only watched them once, but they're really good, then obviously they haven't made the top 5. So, Again, in no particular order for me as well. I had Spartacus as well. Spartacus is a great series on the life and death of the barbarian gladiator Spartacus and his revolution against the Roman Empire. Very well done by Stars. Then it goes to Bones, the TV show Bones. Then the next on the list would be Vikings. It's interesting. You wouldn't think the History Channel would produce such a good TV show, but the History Channel,
was great.
History knocked it out of the park with Vikings. Then the show Castle. If you've ever seen Castle, it's a great combination of like witty humor, crime drama, and just, I think, smart writing. So, and then last on my list would be Chuck.
Oh yeah.
Chuck wasn't it was probably the shortest lived series out of the 5, maybe behind Spartacus. Spartacus was only 4 seasons, but man, Chuck was such a great show, and it's like how a nerd could become this like super secret agent and this and that. It was great. Chuck was a great show. Couple honorable mentions though were for me, Game of Thrones. One of the main reasons why I didn't put Game of Thrones on my list was the last season. Oh my gosh, the last season just like ripped my heart out. It was so bad in every way, but I'm not the writer of it, so I can't really complain. Well, I can complain too much, but I won't get anything done with it. I really liked also, it was almost on the list, was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that was such a good show too. Again, perfect kind of blend between like action, drama, and comedy. Good old school Joss Whedon. And then I would probably have to say I kind of left off animes because I figured we'd get to our own anime.
I foresee an anime top 5.
Yeah, an anime top 5, but you can't go wrong with like Naruto.
Yeah,
so, but yeah, no, it's interesting when you start to think of like TV dramas. You're like, I don't really like TV dramas, and then all of a sudden you start listing them off, and you're like,
I really like TV dramas.
I guess I kind of like TV dramas. Yeah, and that's not even including the comedies. Like, we could have our own top 5 TV comedy list. So, but those are our top 5. Let us know what you think. What are some of your top 5s that we may have missed? Obviously, we probably missed a lot. I mean, I can already hear people be like, Blue Bloods. Yeah. My parents love Blue Bloods. So if you like Blue Bloods, you must be older. That's okay. We still like you. Trying to think of some of the newer series out there. Not really thinking of anything right offhand.
There was that Terminal List.
Yes, Terminal List. That was good, and it was bad at the same time. Yeah. It was good because I liked it. It's bad because if you've read the books, which I have, it is nowhere near as good as the book. The book is, oh my gosh, so much better. So much better. That should be a top 5. Which movies are better than the books?
We got some material for next week. It sounds like.
that probably, I don't know. That might be a hard one to think because they're so good.
Yeah.
The books. I mean, I never really understood how much better books were until I really started getting into them. And the problem with movies or shows is they show all the detail just in the background, and if you're not picking it up, then you don't see it, versus the books will tell you, and then you get the visual. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest difference between reading or listening to a book versus watching it.
Well, I mean, your mind does really funny things when you read. You actually pick up the words, and then you interpret the words in your head, and so you actually create your own image. And that by far is one of the best things about books, is that it really puts it up into your interpretation of things. And having a movie that says no, it's a blue pot, that's a green background.
Yeah,
that kind of your eyes, they're great at capturing information, but they aren't as imaginative as your brain.
Very true.
Funny enough.
Very, very true. because I love the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
And then I read the books like well after I'd seen the movies. And oh my gosh, the books have so much detail in them. And like I like the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbits and all that stuff. And I've only listened to one of the books. I need to get back on the other books, but the books have so much detail. The problem with the Lord of the Rings books is he almost writes with too much detail that it's hard to keep up. You know, where you're like, God, good Lord, do I need to write notes to listen to this thing or what? So yeah, that'd be an interesting top 5. So, but again, yeah, let us know what you think. What your top 5 were as far as a TV drama / action series. Like you can tell from both of our lists, we kind of lean more towards the action series, but there's always drama and action. So that's that. Getting on to our questions for the week, the Ask a Sensei questions. These ones are kind of interesting because they're more of like what we, they're more of like personality, personal questions, like what we think of certain topics, not necessarily what the best solution is or anything like that. So like the first question that was asked was, what are some of your favorite UFC fighters that you like to watch? So meaning like not like necessarily like what is the top 5 UFC list or anything like that. No, it's like what fighters do you tend to be like, man, I like to watch them move. I like to watch them fight. If they're on, like I'll try to watch that fight. If they're not on, okay, I'm not too excited on watching it. Do you have any that kind of pop into mind for you?
Well, I don't watch UFC, so this is a difficult question. And when it was submitted, I had to scramble to be like, do I know any UFC fighters, and do I care? So I did a little bit of research, and I did watch some UFC fighters back in the day. I watched some of the fights recorded, and the one that stood out to me was Kyoto Makita.
Okay.
So one of the first individuals to bring karate into the UFC.
Was that through Pride or the UFC?
That's a great question. I thought it was through the UFC.
Well, I think Pride or UFC owns Pride now, but that's another thing. The difference between the Pride fighting series and UFC when they were 2 separate factions was nuts.
Yeah.
Pride was way bigger because it was in Japan.
Yeah.
And they had limited rules.
Oh, wow.
So UFC, they have rules, or at least they have rules now. I mean, the first few UFCs, there were no rules. But in Pride, you can stomp somebody on the ground, stomp their head, and there's no, like in the UFC, if you're on your knee, you can't strike or kick to the head. In Pride, you can kick to the head if someone's on their knees or knee them in the head.
Wow.
So it was pretty wild. So that guy was the first guy to kind of bring karate into the UFC.
Yeah, there was a few, and that was kind of my focus. Was when this question was submitted, it was like, okay, well, I don't watch fights. I mean, I do watch fights, but it's like the more of the show fighting, like Rough and Rowdy or street beefs, stuff you can find on YouTube. That they're fighting for $50.
Yeah, you're not looking for the trained.
Yeah,
they're just like, hey, get this guy off the street and
exactly.
Let's see what happens.
Let's say maybe they get to eat tonight. Who knows? Who knows? Sorry, that's kind of the humor.
Yeah.
But the other one that kind of stood out to me, and this one's I think more current, is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Stephen Thompson, yeah.
Got really close recently to getting a belt, I think, but didn't get it.
He is, I would definitely say he's one of the top fighters that I like to watch. Not only is because he comes from a very traditional karate background, but one, he's such a nice guy. In fact, you know how the UFC had the BMF title where it was the baddest on the planet? Mm-hmm. He had the NMF title, the nicest.
Oh.
on the planet.
Okay.
So he won the nicest fighter, and it's so true because he seems like a very very genuinely nice person, and just someone that you feel bad if you punched him. And and he doesn't care. You know, he's like, yeah, you're supposed to punch me. It's all right, buddy. It's okay.
It's all right.
I didn't block it. It's my fault. This is kind of the guy that he seems like he is. So I would dare say I definitely like Stephen Thompson as well. That dude's kicks there's something else for sure, and they're borderline like effortless. Like he's bouncing around. All of a sudden, he's got his foot in his face. His foot just slapped you in the face.
Yep.
And you're like, what the hell just happened? Okay. Yeah. So I really like Stephen Thompson as well. I liked Lyoto Machida when he was fighting because he, again, came from a traditional karate background as well. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, he came from a karate background in Brazil, which you hear Brazil in UFC, you automatically think to jiu-jitsu.
Right.
No, but his dad was a traditional karate practitioner in Brazil and raised his boys up that way. And now they own their own Machida Karate Academy or something in California somewhere. So I liked Lyoto Machida. I liked Stephen Thompson. And a lot of my fighters that I like to watch come from like a traditional karate or style background. George St. Pierre, he came from a Kyokushin style background, so he's another karate practitioner. In fact, I think he's actually one of the either head commentary or like head ambassadors for Combat Karate, that fighting series. So it's an interesting take. I like Chuck Liddell. Man, when Chuck Liddell was in his prime, dude, nobody was better. Like, he could take a punch, and then he'd knock you out. And when he would deal with grapplers, they'd shoot in, take him down, and he would just stand back up. It was ridiculous. So, but then Father Time caught up to him, and his ability to take a punch went away, and people just started tagging him. And I was like, oh, God, stop fighting Chuck. This is bad. So, but Chuck Liddell in his prime, man, the Iceman literally was the best nickname ever because he just put people on ice. Like, not like staggering out knockouts, like he'd hit you and you'd go stiff and you'd hit the floor.
The light switch would be click.
Yeah, just off. Okay.
Wake up 30 seconds later.
Oh, it was ridiculous. So, yeah, I'd say those were the main ones that I like to watch. Obviously, man, you can't go wrong if you don't like to watch Conor McGregor, or if you do like to watch. The dude knows how to create a spectacle. Okay, love him or hate him, you're talking about him. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're talking about him and you hate his guts, he's winning.
Right. Okay.
So the dude's got a mouth on him. The dude's got skill hung up behind him. He's capitalized so well, so fast. It's hard not to be like, yeah, I can respect that. Because in reality, he hadn't been fighting for very, very long. Like, I think he was fighting for maybe 2 or 3 years in the UFC, and he got that much notoriety that fast. It's ridiculous. Same thing with, like, Ronda Rousey. Like, Ronda Rousey, again, in her prime, dude, she was selling out arenas and box offices, and she had, like, 2 moves. That's it. Mm-hmm. And she could rock you in those 2 moves. Hip throw, armbar, done. Hip throw, armbar, done.
Rinse, repeat.
Exactly. That's it. She became super famous off hip bar, arm throw, finish. Mm-hmm. Like, I think she may have knocked somebody out, technical knockout, like one person, but it was hip throw, armbar, tap out. Mm-hmm. Hip throw, armbar, tap out. That is it. And then she transitioned into films, and like, I think she's, I don't know, I think her and her husband just had a baby not too long ago. Mm-hmm. and I think they're doing the farm life type stuff. But I mean, my God, she struck lightning in a bottle also. And she's still considered one of the greatest, but statistically, she's not even the best female fighter ever anymore.
Right.
That's that Amanda Nunes girl. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I like to watch striking in the UFC. I mean, I respect grappling. I respect it a lot. But man, it gets boring to watch sometimes. I mean, unless you're like one of those like detailed practitioners where you're like, oh, watch this, they're going to do that. Oh man, they slipped the guard and now they're going to choke them out. And then you're like, unless you're like Joe Rogan, where you can see everything happening and you can articulate it. Grappling is sometimes hard to watch. So, but if you got a really good grappler, it's like a really good striker. I mean, you put them in any situation and they'll make somebody tap out. So, yeah. So, I mean, I'm a little biased towards standing striking people, hence with being in karate and martial arts. But I respect the hell out of a good grappler. You know, you can never go wrong with a good grappler as well. So, but those are fun questions to talk about because everybody's got differences of opinion on stuff like that. Moving on to the next question. If you weren't teaching karate, what do you think you would be doing?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, currently, I wasn't teaching karate. I don't know what I'd be doing. It'd be tough. I've got things to do. Like, I've got businesses and stuff to organize and set up. And so that's what I'd probably be doing now. But when I started karate, as a younger adult, and I'd come after work and like this would be my unwinding, really.
Yeah.
Like if I wasn't unwinding here, I'd be unwinding somewhere else.
Yep.
And it's like really, really beneficial to come here and just like, let it all out, get a workout in, learn something. Man, I don't know.
The dojo's a little cheaper than the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially here in Utah.
Yep. Exactly. If you went to the bar let's say you went to the bar as many group classes you had 3 times a week.
I need a new liver.
You need a new liver and you need a new bank account.
Yeah.
For reals. I mean, you're probably looking at $75, $80 a pop every time you go to a bar.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
That's for 1 week.
Yeah.
So, that's one day. And if you went 3 times, I mean, you're looking at like $200 a week.
Yep.
Just in drinks at a bar.
I mean, I'm a nerd, so I just video game. That's a little cheaper, but it's still.
It's true. I mean, but then you got to get the right Wi-Fi, the right monitors, the right computer. Then you got to get all the snacks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I learned at a young age to drink at home. It's better.
Yeah. Just pregame at home. So, no, it's very interesting because I've been really thinking about this, and I honestly don't know. I don't know what I would be doing because I've been doing this for so long that I know it sounds cliche to say, and I'm not trying to sound cliche, but I don't see myself doing anything else but this.
You just don't have another option.
It's that zero mentality option. It's like this is all I do for a living,
right?
And I have to make this work to make a living. So I'm not going to be like, well, I'm going to put 50% of my efforts into here and 25% of my efforts into this and 10% of my efforts into that and then 15% of my efforts into this other thing. So if my 50% effort doesn't work, then I've got these other things that may not work either in the background waiting to like pick me up.
Well, it's the Chinese proverb, a man who chases many rabbits catches none.
Yeah.
So you've dedicated yourself for the past, give me a refresher, how many years?
I will just like full-time teaching.
Yes.
Full-time teaching, it'll be 15 years this
15
August.
15 years.
Yeah, so I've been teaching for part-time and full-time for about 17, 18 and training for almost 20.
Yeah. So
So
15 years, this has been what you've been doing.
yeah.
So your body has come to, or your mind has come to the realization that's like, this is it. This is natural. So you're thinking of something else that's unnatural.
Yeah, very, very much so.
It's like, ugh, I'm uncomfortable trying to think of like, oh, I have
what to do for a job.
Yeah.
Like, I hate the word job.
Yeah.
Job and me don't necessarily go along, even though I work and I work hard,
Yes.
but I don't like having a job.
Right.
Like, don't give me a job. Give me something to do, and
That's-
I'll make a living out of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say, yeah, I don't know if I can answer that. If I wasn't teaching, I'd probably say that I'd probably be.
Let's reframe this question. When you retire from karate, what do you think
When
you'll
I
be doing?
retire from karate, be a part-time instructor.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, that's hard to think too, because I don't want to say that I don't ever want to stop
That's right.
being involved, but I do eventually want to stop being involved on a day-to-day basis. I would dare say I probably would get into something into the firearms industry,
Okay.
whether it be, just like working behind the desk, like what ammo do you need? I don't know if I could do that, but like working at a range, being a range master,
Okay.
maybe going to school to learn how to be a gunsmith. Like, hell, I don't know. Be a professional critic.
Professional.
Yeah.
Have a professional opinion.
Yeah,
on
I'm going
things.
to walk around and just tell everybody why they're wrong
Yeah, that's good.
and while I'm right.
There's a lot of people doing that today.
Exactly. So I feel like I could fit right in.
Yeah, the market's pretty good for that. Too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like I'd want to be in like Master Linton's shoes, where he can come in, he can teach clinics, and he can teach, some black belts in other schools every now and then, help out with tests. But yeah, the dude still does search and rescue. He runs the Close to My Heart warehouse. Takes like 4 or 5 gun classes a week. I mean, he just sent me a video of more gun training he's doing, and if I want to do it with him, and then a video of him doing it, and I was all like, "Holy crap, David Wick!" Like, that's. And then he responds, obviously, he's the one that taught John everything he knows.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I would dare say I don't think I could do anything else but this, but I would have fun doing other hobbies.
Right.
Okay. Because the thought of even just thinking about doing something else isn't good for me. Because then it's like it's giving me an excuse not to work as hard as I should.
That's right.
So, and I was really thinking about that, and I was all like, I don't know how to answer this,
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You were like what I was like on the first question.
yeah, kind of.
Why would you submit something like this?
Yeah, exactly. Even though you're in martial arts and it's a combat sport, and you should probably know what's going on in that realm.
Probably should watch the professionals.
Yeah, I would watch the professionals from a realm of critical thinking in terms of like, can you find some of the stuff we do?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And be like, that was something very similar to what we do, but different. Let me rewatch that. Because the ultimate truth is love them or hate them, the UFC is a proving ground for what works and what doesn't work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Because if you're like, oh, this technique will work against anything, well, good. Let's have 2 guys fight it out and let's see what happens. That's exactly what the UFC is. That being said, UFC fighting is a lot different than self-defense street fighting. Okay, because there's knees to the groin, pokes to the eye. There's no rules.
Yes.
In a street fight.
You're trying to damage somebody in self-defense.
Yeah. I mean, in this instance, you're just trying to make them tap or knock them out.
Yeah.
In a street fight, you're looking to end them.
That's right.
Okay. So I would honestly start getting into it just from the realm of like finding things we do to reinforce why we do it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like you could be teaching class and be like, hey, this is exactly what blah, blah, blah fighter did against this person in a UFC fight. And you're like, I'm not making it up. This is exactly what happened. Like earlier, a couple years ago, oh man, it was a fight night. I think it was on a Friday night. Friday or Saturday night. It was two fighters. One of them threw a front ball kick with their left, and the other guy kind of trapped it and then threw it to the right. And the dude jumped and did a spinning side kick to his face. And it was effectively DM12.
Yeah.
And you're like, that was DM12.
That looked familiar.
I've done that before, maybe not to that extreme, but it's like, I've done that movement before. And for me, it gives me just some like validation.
Yeah.
Like, okay, our stuff isn't just garbage. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the last question. What about teaching what is a specific thing about teaching that would wear you out the fastest? Whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, both, or everything.
Okay. Interesting. How about you take this one first?
Okay, so probably the easiest answer is teaching children.
Yep.
Okay. Teaching children will wear you out physically, emotionally, and mentally the fastest. Why? Because they're children. They take more emotions. They take more mental strength. They take more physical patience. Not saying that it's not fun teaching children when the children are listening. When children are listening, oh my gosh, there's nothing better than dealing with a kid that listens. Okay, when kids don't listen, there's nothing worse than dealing with kids that don't listen. Okay, because it's like, as an adult and as a parent, we hate to repeat ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we do. So if we're like, hey, take this out, you expect, okay, or at least, hey, I'm right in the middle of something. Can I take it out in 10 minutes? Okay, fine. You have a response, and then you have a course of action.
Right.
Okay? Not sure, and then nothing. Like, hey, take this out. All right, I got it. Take this out. Yeah, I got it. Well, no, you don't, because either you're dumb, deaf, or you don't listen.
Get off my back.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying that that's how kids are, but kids, they're so funny. They're in the learning process also. So you could be like, hey, turn and face me. And they're like looking up at the ceiling. Hey, turn and face me. And then they turn and face the wall. Hey, turn around, face me. Then they turn around in a circle and face the same wall. And you're just like, look at me. And they're like, oh. And then they turn and look at you.
That's what you bet.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like dealing with kids is the fastest one. Okay. Dealing with teens is one that will test your patience the most. Okay. Because teens, and I would dare say like that 12 to 14 year olds. The kids that need to get beaten on a daily basis. Okay. Man, I can't tell you. And I'll talk about this in front of the entire class. Okay. We'll have a situation, kids are getting a little rowdy. They'll be like, all right, hey guys, no more. And you say something like, hey, no more slapping the mats. It's being a distraction. And then some kid automatically has to push that line and slap the mat again. Okay. This is how I handle that. Why? Because if I don't, I'm going to walk over and I'm going to slap him. Okay. Let's say it's little Johnny. Be like, all right, class, hey, no more drum mats. It's being a distraction, so let's answer ourselves. Right when you're done saying that, drum mat. And you're like, You know exactly who it is. Be like, okay, Johnny. I go, whether you know this or not, you're putting me in a very compromising situation. Let me tell you exactly what situation you're putting me in. And I'll say this in front of the entire class. It's not mean, it's not demeaning. I go, this is what's going to happen. I go, you're either going to force me to come down on you so hard that nobody would ever dare think about doing things outside of what I said again, or I don't do anything and the class will do whatever they want. I go, and obviously, you know, as a teacher, I just can't have the class do whatever they want, right? I go, so how many options are you really leaving me? It's like, one. I go, and that one option was what? Coming down on me so hard that it would make everybody question and not do it again. I go, exactly. I go, do you really want that to happen? No. Well, then let's think next time before we try to be the class clown. I go, because you'll run into a teacher that won't care and won't want to talk to you through this. You'll run into a teacher that'll just be like, you're out, get out of here, go to the principals, or you're kicked out of class, or all that other stuff. So when it comes to the tweens, they test your patience more than anybody. Okay, because one, they don't listen. Whether they mean to or not, they don't listen. This happens a lot with a certain individual in the teens and adult class, where I'll be like, hey guys, there's a tiger test on March 16th at 3 o'clock. And then they'll raise their hand and they'll be like, when's the tiger test? It's March 16th.
What time?
It's at 3 o'clock. Oh, okay. Well, you didn't say anything. I just said it 2 minutes ago. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. Then you're like, class, did I just say it 2 minutes ago? Yes, Sensei. Well, I didn't hear you. Well, I'm like, obviously you didn't hear me because you're asking me to repeat it more than once. Oh, sorry. Like, yeah, that's okay. So for me, it's one of those things to where it's like, is it an awful thing? No, it's really not. But there are some days where you're just like, oh my gosh, I got nothing left. Why am I so drained? And it's because you're having to deal with like kids that weren't listening. Sometimes the little ones just start crying out of nowhere. We had a little girl, Lily, randomly, literally, I mean this in all essence of the word, randomly just start crying. We're doing a drill and she's in line, and all of a sudden I see her and her head's bobbing. And I said, Lily, turn around. And she's crying. I bring her over. I go, Lily, why are you crying? I don't know. Like, you don't know why you're crying, sweetheart? No. Like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Then why are we crying? I don't know.
Cry because I'm sad.
Yeah. And I'm just like,
why are you sad?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, Lily, well, why don't you go back in line, okay? And she just cried for another minute or two and then stopped.
Yep.
And then she was
Back
good.
to normal.
And I'm like, man, I'm going to start crying if I keep looking at her. So that's kind of the short answer for that one. Have you noticed certain things with you where you're just like, oh, man, that class wore me out?
Honestly, yeah, I think along the same lines, the repetition, having to say the same thing. I was like, okay, so I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're like, all right, now I have to use more energy to bring them down.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that wasn't enough. Let's do a little bit more. That's the biggest one. That wears me out physically and just mentally. But what really wears me out mentally is coming to the understanding internally that they're not at my level. They're like, I'm not teaching me.
Yeah.
I'm teaching you. And you learn differently than I do.
Yeah.
So how can I bridge this gap between how I like to learn things and how you like to learn things? How I might teach things and how you might receive things. That's a reward but it tires me out so much.
It is very exhausting, for sure. Um, yeah, because like you said, everybody learns very differently than everybody else. Um, so when you're teaching people, the biggest thing to find out as fast as you can is how do they like being taught? Are they information based? Are they practice based? Are they workout based? Like, are they just kind of like, hey, I want to work out a little bit, but I want to talk more. I just don't want to say I want to talk more. Okay. Or are they like, hey, little as talking as possible and as little reps as possible. I just want information. Okay. So figuring out how to teach or figuring out how somebody likes to be taught is a very invaluable lesson for your own sanity. Because then you can go into each lesson being like, okay, this person likes it this way, this person likes it that way, and you can kind of cater your teaching towards the individual, which is one of the things we pride ourselves on. But sometimes it takes a minute to find that sweet spot.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that just kind of popped into my head that makes me laugh is how everybody really, excuse me again, I had another yawn. How everybody really struggles with their right and left still. This is older people too, and I just have to laugh it off. I go, okay, hey, move your left foot towards the mirrors. And they'll move their right foot towards the heavy bag mirrors. I go, those are the heavy bags, and that was your right foot. Go, they're like, okay. Okay, horse stance, left foot, draw it in, left foot, step out towards the mirrors. And they did the exact same thing they did before. And you're like, you got to move your other foot. What other foot? I go, the other foot. You mean this foot? And it's the same foot. And I'm like, no. And then you have to like actually go over there and like touch their leg. I go, move this leg this direction. They're like, oh, that leg. Yes, that leg. So, or they're moving, and I'm like, hey, make sure you pivot on this foot. And they pivot with the other foot, and you're like, wrong left foot. They're like, oh, sorry. It's like, it's okay. The best thing to do is remember the 3 C's, cool, calm, and collected. They're not you, but our goal is to get them better than you. Okay? Any instructor worth their weight, their objective is to make their students better than them. If they're not actively trying to make them better than you need to have a real serious look with their instructor and find out exactly what is their motivation. Why are they doing this? What makes them tick? Because if my motivation isn't to get every single student in here better than I was, I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
That
makes sense.
Yeah. It's like I want them to be able to line up in front of me and I lose to every single student sparring one day. Why? Because I told them everything they need to know how to beat me.
Yeah.
Through beating other people. So those are the questions for the week. I feel like we had some pretty good discussions on them. Please feel free to weigh in on any of these topics or conversations that we have. We love to hear from other people's opinion, other people's viewpoint, more so viewpoint, because like I said, we're just a couple of dojo guys, and sometimes our reality is a little bit skewed.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like we talk to each other a lot. We have a lot of similar opinions, and it's like, oh man, we need to interject some like non-us into these conversations.
That would be nice. Okay. Yeah. Please send us some more questions. We're running low.
Yeah.
Comment them or put them at our email at TruTalkTuesdays@gmail.com. Yeah, I think.
And a little side note, it was funny because Shanna wanted her episode to be the most watched episode.
Okay.
That we have so far.
One of them dropped this week.
Yeah, and she's actually second. So the number one is like a certain percentage, and she's right below that. And I told her that the other night, and she didn't want to promote it because she got embarrassed. Okay, so if she ever listens to this, which I doubt she will, but we'll see if she does.
Mm-hmm.
She got embarrassed and she didn't feel like she did as good as she wanted to.
Great.
So she's like, she hasn't been promoting it. And now that I told her that she's second on the list, she's like, I'm going to promote the hell out of it because I have to be number one. And I'm like, okay, yes, you do have to be number one. So if you haven't listened to Shannon's episode, go please listen to her episode, push her up to number one. That'd make her feel so happy. So
got a sales pitch in here too.
yeah,
Nice.
exactly. But yeah, you guys know where to find us: Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube.
Those are the places.
Those are the places right now. Maybe we'll even start a True Talk Tuesdays Instagram, and we're still. Granted, this week we have not tried. This week, I'll be honest with you, we have not tried this week about getting our stuff up on the Apple Podcast Network, but we are going to work on it. We are going to create an iTunes account.
Not say anything, and then maybe we'll surprise everybody.
Yeah, so we'll when we get one, you'll find out as soon as we do. So
we'll be happy.
We'll be very happy. Absolutely. Then we're like, we don't have any more platforms we have to put them on.
We can't complain for the last 30 seconds of our podcast.
But we do appreciate that you guys taking the time out to listen to us. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, please feel, like I said, to drop them in on our email at TruTalk@gmail.com, or just leave a comment at the end of the video down below. So thank you for spending the time with us on this Tuesday afternoon. Again, our goal is to make the world a better place and our day a little bit better in the process, okay? So thank you for tuning in with us, and make sure you kick it back with us next time.
Kick it with us next week, everyone. Bye.